All right, super duper coaches, we're going to go through my trades here in my overall side. Obviously moved into 2900th overall last week and hoping to, over the next few weeks, really build on that position. I've used two trades this week, and that is to get David Fifita into the side there. And I have, to be able to fund that move, I've actually decided to go down from Hines to Jerome Hughes there as well. So we'll say the guys I got rid of. And obviously in my side, I do think in Supercoach as well, Fuller is a sell, given he'll miss next week as well. It's a very important position, that fullback position, or at least getting a good half, being able to get Fifita in the side. And I've decided that Fuller is the guy to remove in this situation. So that's where I've gone for. It does leave me with still a decent amount of cash in the bank at 82,000 there. 20 trades in the bank, and if I'm looking through my team now, going into this week with my 2RF, looks super strong with Crichton to come back and play next week as well, and that's a good reason why I left him in the side, is that I think I can get a good score out of him next week and really kind of build over the next few weeks there. My front row forward next week will be without Curran and Hughes, so hopefully Willison gets through this game unscathed, and he can be a guy to get at least an okay score next week for me. Unless I do decide to move on from Hughes next week, but we'll wait until that one comes along, and maybe if Willison's out for a week or something like that, that Hughes could be the one to trade out there. We've got Coruscant and Brayley up top, so pretty happy with that. Obviously, with Coruscant not making Origin and Robson dominating, so I wouldn't be expecting Coruscant to make Origin now. Hopefully, he's still kicking goals, and that'll be good for us as well. I've decided to hold Smithies at the moment just because he's going to be a decent number in round 16 as well. So I'm pretty happy with that situation there for Smithies. I suppose the only other thought there that I could have done and the decision I could have made was to sell Smithies instead of Fuller. Definitely something that I could have done. But in this scenario here, I did need the space, and that's why Aitken came down into the centre wing position to get rid of Fuller, and I could still definitely do that and keep Fuller for round 16, but I do think he's made obviously a decent amount of his cash there, and I actually went down last week there, and Smithies can definitely do a job for us in round 16 and 17 there as well. So that's where we're at with that one. Fuller not going to be there next week, as I said, and then unlikely to play 17 as well, and these types of things there. But Hughes comes in for Hines, and I do think with the amount of trades I got left, that it's an okay situation. And then whoever I want to get rid of later down the track in round 21 or something like that for Hines, it's a really long runway that Hines is going to miss a lot of games. Even if he doesn't make Origin 2 and 3, he still misses 16 and this week 16 and 20. So it's still 3 weeks there where Hughes gets that extra couple of games on Hinesy there, and I do need to make up some ranks. So I do think that trading him is probably the better play there. So Walker's going to be missing this week. We got Brown and also Galvin there. We'll move Galvin into the starting side in this scenario there. And I do think we're going to have to pretty much lock in Fifita as captain, I think. So we're going to put the vice captain on Galvin, given he plays the first game tonight, and hopefully he goes well. And the news came out of, it's official that he actually does have a broken wrist, and he's been dealing with that for about a month or so and playing with painkilling injections. So thank you. Thank you for your service, Galvin. You've been incredible for us, and continue doing good things, mate. I'm very, very impressed with what you're able to do with a cooked hand there for sure. So that's that situation. I think we're just going to lock in the Fifita captaincy against the South. So Galvin going to be our vice in that first one. I'm not playing Sam Hughes at the moment, but this does play into the fact that Val Holmes, I'm hoping that he does play, and if he doesn't play, I'll be taking that Hughes AE, and also in that scenario means I'd be able to just straight vice captain Fifita and take the free loop, given I will be only having 17 in my side this week. So just be aware of that as well. Obviously, if I don't have to take Hughes, that's my goal. But if it ends up being that way, that Val Holmes is out, I'll be short a centre wing this week, and therefore I'll be able to just take that free loop. So that's that. Garrick, Talangi, Isaac Tungo and Holmes, so a solid enough centre wing, especially if Val plays again. And then I've got Drinkwater and then Kale Iro down below in the fullback slot there. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not actually picking up a Latrell or something like that, so I don't have to trade Fuller this week. But I do think that next week I'd probably want to be trading him anyway. So let's just get it out of the way now, and then Smithies will do a job for us and kind of hang around his price there. going forward. So these are the trades for my team and my situation there, guys. And I'm going to go through the head-to-head team now. And then I'm also going to go through a little bit of a buy, hold, sell. I have the boost available in my head-to-head team. So I'll click that open and have a muck around with all the potential buys that you might want to be looking at this week. And then speak about some of the guys on buy this week. You might be happy to move on. And Smithies is one of those guys for sure. And we kept things pretty similar in terms of the trade-in. So Fafita does come in as well, with Jerome Hughes for Hines and actually Joe Chan. So I'm able to get rid of a little bit of the dead weight there. I still think it's way too early to have guys not playing, and these extra scores that you can get in obviously round 14, 17 and 20, they're not going to be easy rounds. I think 17 is going to be a little bit easier, but round 13, 16, 19, that extra number is going to be helpful as well. And if Chan's not playing at all, then that's a mistake, I think, to hold on to too many of those guys if you do have the opportunity to sell them. And the head-to-head team right now is also playing with just that full 17 to kick things off. And if that's how it ends up, I think I'll just be locking in Hughes as my 17th man this week. And in that case, I can just straight vice-captain Fafita and take that free loop and go from there. If Val Holmes happens to be out of this side, if we've got Armstrong out as well, then I'll definitely be making that third trade and that boost there. But still, either way, that does mean that I've got a free swing at that vice captaincy, and then I've got actually Adam Fanor-Blake right now with the captaincy, and we'll make that decision as we get a little bit closer. I do think he can go over for a try against the Cowboys, and he'll want a bit of a revenge game after being stood down last week. But the team now with Reed Marnie and Coruscant, got Adam Fanor-Blake and Liam Henry, so really strong little situation right there. I think Liam will still be able to play some decent minutes after the massive one last week. He might go down to a 30 to 40, and I hope that's the case. Tackle numbers, get them up again, big fella. Hughesy, as I said, Fafita, Kaipi, Paul and Lane, so I did need to fix up the 2RF a little bit, but holding on to Angus Crichton there, I do think helps for next week as well, with Plath and obviously Smithies there. But playing Sean Lane, not super happy with the 17 that I'm rolling out in this head-to-head side compared to my overall team, just because of having to play Hughesy, having to play Lane, and then obviously bringing in Armstrong last week was pretty hurtful as well, to go along with Iro, Talangi and Holmes in the centre wing. Brown and Galvin, Hughes, obviously Johnson not playing, a little bit frustrating, but you do see with the squad I'm rolling out next week with Young, Asako, Strange down there, you've got Plath, Crichton, Terrell May there, obviously not in the sides, and then Johnson to return next week as well. Very happy with the front row forward, with obviously Adam Fanor-Blake. A couple of good things here and there, with Fafita obviously being the captain this week is needed, in my opinion. And then I got Meany down there in the fullback slot. He comes up against Newcastle, so hopefully that's a good game for him. And then Drinkwater down there as well. So a solid little setup. We'll likely, I think, have to make that extra trade to get a 17th man on the park. And especially with the team I'm rolling out, I don't want to fall short and get beat in my head-to-head matchups this week, given it's a pretty important one. And obviously a little bit of my fault there, not having hoping that things would work out with a few of these guys, obviously with Holmes and Armstrong especially. But the team's getting better set up for the longer term, and that's where we're at here. And we'll look at Sean Lane moving out, coming up to round 16 as well. Armstrong will probably be a similar boat now that he's either being rested or dropped. I'm not exactly sure how that one's going to play out, but yeah, there's a few things to think about there for sure. But let's chuck in that boost right now. Let's activate it, just so we can muck around with a few positions. And the hooking position, fairly easy one right now. It's kind of Reed Marnie, Jeremy Marshall-King, Jaden Brayley, Brennan Hands, and Damien Cook is kind of where you're at right now. I think Little you had to pick up last week. So Brennan Hands will be the likely player that people look at 246. Obviously for Danny Levi, for Joey Lussick. If you own any of those guys, I do think Brennan Hands will be a target play. He'll be able to make some decent money. He misses 16 and 20, but he covers obviously this week. He'll make some money for you. 15, you won't play him likely. 17, you'll probably be playing him. And then 19 as well will be very helpful. So that's probably all we need to say on the hooking position. It's not a position that you want to be spending too many trades on, that's for sure. In the front row forward, you want to be holding on to Terrell May, that's for sure. But looking onto obviously scores from last week, someone to look at for next week is Joe Tarpanet. Down at 616k, 40k down from his starting price this year. He's definitely one of the more premier front row forwards you want to be looking at. How good's Jack de Belin going this year? very impressive 74 last 3-round start, 63 for the year. Good stuff on his front there. Adam Blake's obviously a target player, 748. He went up low last week, so I definitely think you can wait if you don't want to cop that price drop. But there's also a chance he scores a try, and we know that he can score plenty of tries. That's for sure. I wouldn't be buying into Liam Henry. Like, he went up 70k last week, which is really, really helpful, but not someone you want to buy. Similar to Josh Curran with him being out next week, which is good. Good scoring anyway in recent history. Nafahu White, you're holding on to him after maybe buying last week. And then down from there, in the front row forwards, not a lot. There's not a lot going on. Like Samuel Alafanu with the dual position is someone you might want to look at, obviously coming off the bye. You can look at Twali and these types of players here in that, in the West Tigers team there. So let's just click into them for the front row forwards because there's plenty of options there at the moment. Twali and Stefano down there at 476k and 533. So Stefano's gone down a little bit after a 57 3-round average, a 55 5-rounder. Twali obviously with that try last week helped him out to a 63 3-round average. And if you want to go for one of those cheaper guys that plays each of these upcoming sort of 6-7 buy rounds, then they're obviously going to be the plays for you. And then Samuel Alafanu there, obviously the 3-round average of 52. He's a little bit cheaper than both those guys. So if that works out for you and you want him as someone to cover all of those buys, then that works there as well. Outside of that, it's not too much to talk about in the front row forward, and it's not really the position you need a lot of players. And you obviously see here in my head-to-head team here, the 2RF is a position of a little bit of weakness there. So let's have a look at that. Fafita's obviously a big one there to be looking at in your side coming up. All right, let's remove ourselves from the Tigers because, it's only Alex Seyfarth that comes in there at 349k. That could be a little bit of a play for sure, but I don't rate it incredibly highly, that's for sure. Let's take off the Tigers there and head back to where we're looking at. Let's just go straight averages is where we will look at, and that's Fafita there with the 96.6 5-round average. So the best captaincy of the week, Eli Katoa coming in at a 93 3-round average, 75 for the year at 765. So if you don't have enough cash, if you already have Fafita, Eli Katoa is clearly the next best to look at purchasing there. You could wait on someone like Ewan Aitken for next week. I don't think you can go for Isaiah Yeo or Hopgood this week there. Connor Watson, I do think there's a decent chance he plays Origin, and he's obviously not back yet. DeBellin, I wouldn't go for anymore. Preston, if you are okay for next week, he's the play this week. You should be able to get up to 700 and something thousand, and we know that he's a good chance of scoring tries. People looking at Keon Kolomatangi after that massive score last week, but he's so inconsistent. He's consistently low before the massive games that you see from him there. Dylan Lucas was more of a play last week, and then obviously scoring low hurt him. I wouldn't be going for Adam Elliott. Kaipi Spall's just a hold. Bryce Cartwright is getting a 79 last week. He looks like he's getting back into some form, and he's down 132k on his starting price when he got all the way up to sort of 800k at the beginning of the season, which was very, very impressive. So that's probably all I'd be looking at there. Scott Sorensen was more of a play last week, and we'll leave the 2RF there. But in terms of guys that are out this week, I do think Plath is a hold, Smithies is a hold or a sell. If you have the ability to trade out Sean Lane, do that as well. In the halfback position, it really is just Jerome Hughes or bust. You could be going for Tyron Wishart potentially if you wanted to go down that route. We do see Jesse Marshke move out of the side now. Wishart at 436. It's not horrendous pricing, but it's not the best that you can be looking at in that position. If you want to wait on for Walker next week or Johnson, that's probably, also a decent play. Moses a decent chance of playing Origin, but misses 16 anyway, so he would have been missing that clash. Burton back this week, obviously, but misses next week. It's a very, very hard position to go for. So that's where Jerome Hughes with his 69 average for the season is a really good play. For the 5/8 position, it's Galvin and Brown or bust, really. There's not a lot going on. KO Weeks, you could wait till next week and get him at 486. Plath's in there as well. I wouldn't be buying at this stage at 508k, but a really good score last week. And Tomato Martin up at 521. A little bit too much for kind of a 1 week good play. So outside of that, there's not much going on there either. If you've got Luke Brooks, you can still hold, just given he'll play a lot of the games there for sure. And then the center wing, it's not the most exciting position this week, to be honest with you there. Just pretend I was, Ethan Strange can be held or sold. I think holding him is completely fine. Osako and Dom Young are obviously clear holds as well. If Armstrong is out, you could definitely sell him if you wanted to go down that route. But who you're targeting is the big question. I think you wait till next week, to be honest with you. Joseph Manu in there, a really good slot. For sure, I wouldn't be grabbing Dom Young next week at 785, but they do have a nice run, for sure. It's just a very expensive purchase. You could go for a Ronnie Malatalo, but again, missing a couple of games over the next bunch. Kiraz, I think he'll go much better this week with Stephen Crichton returning, but the buy next week, I think you can wait till 16 for him. Garrick, you could go for this week if you still don't own, but up against Panthers, probably not the best week to go for it. So yeah, it's just not a really exciting position this week. And that can definitely change next week with guys like Manu and on the block. But yeah, I know a lot of people still already own him there. Herbie Farnworth doing good things as well. Could be a guy to look at there. So yeah, center wing pretty gross right now. It was the position to be, and now it's a little bit in the 2RF with Eli Gatoa and Fafita, kind of the guys you really want as standouts. And then yeah, really only a couple of fullbacks as well in Drinkwater doing good things. And then Latrell Mitchell's probably the other big one with Edwards, Tedesco around Origin and injury clouds. Turbo's gone. Walshy's gone. It's just Latrell, really. So jump on Latrell if you like. Hopefully, for your sake, he doesn't make Origin, and then he becomes an incredible buy, really. And he's only had one really low score this year, and he's averaging 87.7 over his last three. So he's the kind of game breaker that you could grab. And obviously up against each other, him and Fafita, you can't do a vice-captaincy loop. You just have to pick one, and obviously Fafita would be more the safety guy there. But yeah, if you were moving on from Fuller, which I think is a good idea, if you were moving on from a Strange or something like that, and you could, how would that work? Yeah, if you got like a Iro or something in fullback, you could get rid of Strange and move Iro to the center wing again and get Latrell in that way. So that's definitely an option. If you want to trade out Walshy, I think that's a good play. He misses the next 3 games now. So yeah, that's probably all I want to say on the potential trade-ins and outs for this week. It's a bit easier, I think, in Supercoach, given most of us are kind of pretty close to the 17. It's just, getting in that good captaincy option and going from there. So that's the buy, hold, sell and the trades for Supercoach this week. I hope that was very helpful for you guys, and we'll catch you in the next video.